Hello, hello to all the parents of the next generation. It's Megan Barella here, your positive parenting and happy home guide. How are you doing today? If you're catching the replay, drop a hello below, and I'm sending all the best, as always, to you and your family. Today we're talking about healthy anger in families. So who is this live for? This is for conscious parents who may have had dysfunctional childhoods. And even if you don't consider your childhood dysfunctional, it's probable that you didn't have the messaging around anger and the modeling around anger. So whether you grew up in an environment with a lot of anger or even rage, whether you were punished for being angry or your anger was shut down, this training is for you. This training is also for parents who have, temperament-wise, strong-willed, highly persistent, highly intense children. If that is the way your child is wired temperament-wise, if your child is neurodiverse, and your child is responding to life stressors, to unmet basic needs with an angry response, then this training is for you. So this training is not, because sometimes my first goal is to neutralize our relationship with anger. But sometimes when I'm doing that, people will rightly say to me, well, Megan, it's not like all emotions, like anger can really do harm. And so this training is not for you. Needless to say, if you feel like you are physically abusing your child, if you are in an acute phase of domestic violence, if you're working with a lot of unresolved trauma on your childhood experiences, then please just know that my heart is with you. I'm sending so much support. You can always reach out to me for additional resources and referrals, but this training might not really support you. So when we're talking about, I'm going to go through kind of an overview on anger, and then I'm going to dive right in to the way that I support anger in Happy Home Coaching. That way, if you're watching, you can literally, if you feel like you can coach yourself and put the processes that I share with families in place. And if you feel like, yeah, I get it, Megan, I connect with that, but I'm not able to implement that on my own, please know, especially around anger, when I'm talking about positive parenting approaches to anger, most of us need some support. So I'll also remember that Happy Home Coaching, one of the number one things I support families with is emotional dysregulation, and particularly when there's anger, when there is kind of that fight response that our children have or that we have in response to our children. That's the number one reasons that parents find me. So I just want you to know that you're not alone and that positive change is possible. So think about, as we get started today talking about anger, think about you're being asked to teach your children how to ride a bike or read. And you don't know how yourself. How would that be? Would it be possible to even teach your kids how to read or ride a bike if you didn't know how? No, right? It would be really challenging. Please keep in mind when we're talking about emotions, healthy emotional development, especially around healthy anger expression in our families, realize that's what all of us, or most of us, 99% of us, are being asked to do today. We are being asked to teach our children how to have a healthy relationship with anger, but we never had that modeled for us in our own childhood. So please allow that to have a high degree of compassion for yourself, because if you're experiencing anger in your family, your children's or your own, probably there's a lot of parenting guilt connected to it and self-judgment or self-criticism. And we really want to honor that when we're talking about healthy expression of anger, it's just something we didn't learn as kids. So we're having to do double and even triple time the work today of teaching ourselves, developing a healthy relationship with anger for ourselves, and then extending that to our children. So if you're dealing with anger issues in your family, please know that you're not alone. It's one of the hardest things to support, whether it's our children's anger or our own. And anger does get misunderstood. Anger gets a bad rap. And granted, anger can and has done some real harm. But anger is a natural human emotion. And I actually don't identify at all with traditional anger management. I swear, traditional anger management was developed by people who do not have anger issues. Counting to 100 and breathing, that's probably not going to work for those of us who are in touch with our anger. So what I want to help you reclaim today is that anger can be healthy. It's a natural human emotion. Anger is a response to perceived threats. It's a response to injustices. There is the quote that says, anger is sad or grief's bodyguard, in that anger is a secondary emotion. There's usually sadness or grief or pain underneath the anger that anger is trying to protect us from and keep us safe. And anger also is an arrow pointing to our passion, our values, and what we care about in life. So let me know, do you connect with that definition of anger? And what aspects do you connect with? I know for me, I really relate to, I never knew I had anger issues until I became a parent. And then a lot of the anger that I was repressing from my childhood experiences came to a head. And I was like, what is going on? And so the process that I'm going to share with you is the exact process that I've used to support my own anger as a parent. And it's the process that I also share. I'm doing this talk on anger because tomorrow night I'm leading my professional development training, Calm the Storm, which I offer professional development trainings to early childhood educators and childcare providers. And so I'll be offering a statewide training on the emotions and supporting emotions in early childhood education settings. So I thought, yeah, this is one of the number one reasons parents find me. So let's go ahead and talk about anger this week as well. So as much as we want to reclaim that positive concept of anger and our positive relationship with anger, we also want to honor that anger out of control can be very dangerous and scary. So especially for those of us if we've experienced that as a child, then getting to a place where anger is neutral is not easy, okay? So what I'm working towards in Happy Home Coaching is how can we get anger into its healthy expression? What does healthy anger even look like? Because we are taught to fear anger, not to trust it, to repress it, to shut it down before it destroys us. And we're taught that anger can hurt people because that's what we've seen a lot in our lives. If you think of anger, the way that I describe it and why traditional anger management doesn't work is because picture you've got on the stove, right? A boiling pot of something, right? Something is, I'm what I have to say, I leave the stove on a lot just because I work from home, I'm multitasking, right? And if you got the lid on, what's gonna happen? You've got the boiling, like the anger, but you got the lid on. What's gonna happen? It's gonna explode eventually. And that's the reality that I see a lot of us parents today are dealing with. We have all this repressed anger, and then the stress of parenting today is like that lid, and then it's just waiting for that explosion or that unhealthy release of anger, whether it's yelling or however that may manifest within you, okay? So, again, I don't believe that anger is here to be managed. Our children's anger is not here to be managed. Our anger isn't here to be managed because, and why I say that? Because I don't like the word managed. I never want to be managed. I work for myself, right? And I tend to work with parents who are orientated that way, or kids. These CEO kids, again, I talked about earlier, strong-willed, highly sensitive, persistent, intense kids don't want to be managed. And those are the kids that tend to be in touch with their anger, okay? So what we're looking at is that healthy relationship, concept of anger, believing that anger can be in a healthy form. And sometimes that's the subconscious belief that I'm supporting parents with. Again, if you grew up in families with a lot of anger or rage or domestic violence, really reclaiming your own relationship with anger is something that is essential to parenting, and also really empowering and transformative, because again, our anger is our passion and our zest for life, okay? So there's a specific way that I support anger in the families that I work with, whether it's supporting the parents in anger or the children. But also keep in mind, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to anger, okay? So now, I'm going to go through some of the exact steps and processes that it's like the checklist of the processes and the steps that I use to support families in anger, with anger. Not in anger. I'm not angry when I'm doing that, I promise. With anger in your family. And I'm sharing this, so if you're someone who can just take this information and put it into place for your family, wonderful. Do that. Onward and forward. I want to empower you. With those, sorry about that, with those processes and tools. But for most of us, sorry about that, it's not just the steps to supporting anger in our families. It's those individualized support that's customized to your family's unique reality. Because when we're working with anger, it's easy for us to go offline, to feel overwhelmed, to feel threatened, to feel scared. And when that's the case, we can't access new tools and support and processes. So a lot of times when I'm doing with parents is I'm helping you stay in that place of felt safety as you're working on supporting anger in your family. Okay, so the first thing that we're gonna wanna do is understand the landscape in your family. It's the pieces of the puzzle that make your family who you are, and also underscore the challenges that you're working with on anger. So it's kind of like the foundational pieces. So the things that I look at first and foremost to know your family, and you can do like a little bit of self-assessment if you want with this, basic needs in your family and stress levels. Because remember, behavior, including anger, is about communication of needs. So we really want to understand what the needs are. I also have all families do a temperament assessment. I want to know all the different temperament dynamics in your family and how you're all lining up together to support what's called goodness of fit, which means giving everyone what they need to thrive. And then we want to take into account brain wiring and neurodiversity in your family. We also want to look at, is the anger due to what's called a flipped lid? Is it a response to stress? Or, because sometimes it's both, is it just a pattern of response? Because sometimes I'm working with parents and the child they're not a true like flipped lid. They're not in that actual place of emotional dysregulation. They're more in a place of a pattern of power, because anger is very, very powerful. Okay, so we're going to want to look at that. We're going to want to look at sibling dynamics and sibling rivalry, and if there's any resentments or jealousy, because it's very common with the birth of a new sibling, or as sibling dynamics get solidified over time, for there to be some resentment, and that's where the anger is coming from. We also want to look at how everyone responds to stress in your family. And for some people, they have that natural fight response. These are people who are really in touch with their emotions, are passionate, fiery types. And when we're looking at kids who are wired that way, a lot of times they actually want to connect with anger, especially with small children. So a lot of times, hitting, when small kids hit, it could be that they actually want to connect. And we're going to need to decode that and figure out a way to meet that need so it's an empowered and safe and healthy version. Okay? And then we also want to take into account family history. And for me, I follow your lead. I need to know a very little about what you experienced as a child yourself, if that's all that you want to share. I just need to get a snapshot. Now, on the flip side, some parents, that's one of the main things that we're working on, is understanding responses developed in childhood and how we can translate that into really your thriving mechanisms of your needs being met today. Okay, so I look at that family history of how you grew up and the relationship with anger. And again, having a high degree of compassion for yourself. A lot of parents that I work with grew up in environments with really unhealthy anger and a lot of rage. Some or most parents, as children, feel like they weren't given permission to be angry, that they were punished for being angry. Sometimes I'm working with parents where the parents themselves weren't angry, but they were around really angry siblings. So we're going to want to understand, what's that landscape? What's your background experience when you were a childhood that formed your subconscious operating system around anger? And then how can we take that and really translate it into its highest, most self-actualized form? Because what I found is when we're clear on the lessons that our kids are here to teach us around anger, and we're able to really translate it into the experience of anger into in our families, into what is our needs being met, what is that positive, healthy, safe expression of anger, what does that look like for ourselves? Again, that's the missing piece of healthy emotional development that most of us didn't have modeled for us. And then, now we know how to read, we know how to ride the bike. We have that healthy relationship with anger within ourselves, or we're working towards that. So then simultaneously we can support our children. And I find that that's the thing that moves the needle the biggest for the families that I'm working with in Happy Home Coaching. And what I find that individualized support for your strengths, your highest good, your self-actualization around healthy anger, that is really what moves the needle. And that's what I find a lot of just information online around anger, traditional anger management, other parenting work that you may do, like parenting classes or podcasts around anger, might not give you that exact support for your self-actualization around the highest potentials of healthy, safe, positive emotional expression in your family. So if you're watching this and you're getting some information coming up where this is like the highest good, the highest expression of anger, safe and healthy and positive in my family for myself, then you really want to note to self, you really want to capture that, okay? Because when we're taking into that landscape, what it results in is your dynamic lesson as a parent. And again, what is your child here to teach you about anger, about your passion, about your values, about injustices in the world, injustices you may have experienced or your family has? It's teaching you, like, your dynamic lesson is about your passion and your fiery side. Sometimes it's about your assertiveness and coming into your place of strength as a parent. It's about your unmet needs, and it's about that your healthy relationship, your healthy expression of anger and your release of anger. I love and I follow a lot of decolonized parenting experts, decolonizing therapy, who are really talking about sacred rage today. And I encourage you to learn more about that, okay? So your anger or your children's anger is teaching you something really, really juicy and amazing about your needs, your values, mutual respect in your family, your passion, your assertiveness. And we really want to anchor that in. That's your embodiment work around healthy expression of anger. Okay? Then from there, once we understand the unique landscape of anger in your family, and we have identified your dynamic lesson as a parent around anger, then come all the practical tools and approaches that I share in Happy Home Coaching. And, maybe I'll dive into that in more detail another day. But this is where it gets really fun. We get to decide, okay, how do you want to model healthy, safe, positive expression, release, and integration of anger for your children? And we get clear on that. It's usually like about 3 ways. And then you're just modeling that. Here's the difference in calm and connected moments for your children, and even involving your children in these physical ways, because anger moves through us in physical ways. So I'm really helping parents really get into your somatic body, your experience in your body, and create felt safety around that to really have fun releasing anger in calm and connected moments. Because the biggest challenge, and it's actually a huge safety issue, is a lot of times, because parents say, a lot of parents I work with, they come to me already like, I tell my kids, like, hit the pillow or go to the punching bag or scream in a pillow. But you're trying to do that when your child or you is already upset, and it is physiologically impossible to learn new tools when we're in a place of anger, because the thinking, learning, logical, linguistic, problem-solving part of our brain is usually offline in the experience of anger. So if you can take this away, if you're already trying, like you've been trying to go to your kids or yourself when the anger's already happened, do this, okay? Peel it back. The first step is to play those things just as fun, connected games with your kids, or if they don't want to join you, to model yourself. And actually, a lot of what I'm doing is helping parents actually get in touch and unlock anger when we're not angry, so that we can teach our bodies and our emotional bodies that it's actually safe and empowering to get in touch with our anger. Okay, so if you are working with anger in your family, please don't struggle alone. Okay, if you're shaming and blaming yourself, if you're having a lot of self-judgment and self-criticism, please just know you're not alone. So many of us, myself included, are working on anger issues. And remember that traditional anger management, it's not brain-based, and it's a lot of times not developed by people who have anger issues. So I want you to rest assured that everything that I've developed has been from my experience, my lived experience as a parent, and really having to do this work myself when what I was being taught by the professionals wasn't working. It wasn't serving me. And I just couldn't shift that experience of my anger response, my angry response as a parent. And then what I developed that I tried out myself, this is what I've been sharing with other parents for the last 12 years. So please just, one, don't struggle alone. Have compassion for yourself. Know that most of us parents today, like 90% of us, 90 to 99% of us, did not have healthy emotional expression modeled for us. So we've got to fill the gaps in our own education, in our own felt inner sense, in our relationships with anger, so that we can share it with our children, okay? So don't struggle alone. If you're working on anger in your family, please do feel free to interact with the comments on the live. I know one of the drawbacks when I offer these lives on my personal page rather than in my parenting group is parents sometimes have more privacy concerns. You're not wanting to share on the live itself. So please just know you can always message me. And then if you know, like, we're working on anger in our family and it's overwhelming and I don't know how to shift it, just know Happy Home Coaching is for you. If you are a past client, just reach out. We'll reconnect and kind of develop a plan. And remember, you get my community rate for sessions because you've been through my intensive. Otherwise, for new families, if you've not yet been through Happy Home Coaching, it is an 8 to 12 week intensive intervention type experience that includes education. You get access to my self-paced program, coaching, weekly coaching sessions, and then this is the game changer. You get on-call support, because as a parent, this is what I found the game changer is. You can have weekly sessions, but everything in parenting happens in between sessions. And what I found is a lot of times parents were having like 5 to 20 or more interactions going on throughout the week. It was impossible to cover all of those and to apply the tools that I teach to your parenting reality. And so this on-call voice messaging support is the game changer. I'm on call for the families I work with, and I will get back to you in real time, not right away, within 2 to 3 hours, during it's like about a 12-hour window that I'm answering voice messaging from about 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And I'll get back to you in real time and we'll brainstorm and troubleshoot and develop the plans. And this is, parents are voice messaging me in crisis after acute things have happened, in tears, in a place of like high emotions, unsure of what to do. And this is really the game changer with Happy Home Coaching. So again, it's that combination of education, coaching, and on-call support that allows Happy Home Coaching to really be a transformation guaranteed experience for families. Okay. So message me to learn more. I'll drop some links below. Know that you're not alone, and this is one of the most powerful and challenging aspects of parenting that we're working on today. And I want to get you to the other side with that healthy relationship with our emotions and our anger that was missing from our own childhood, so we can share that with our kids today. Okay, I'm sending all the best, lots of love and support, and I'll see you next time.